Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Rusty from Porker's Corner, the biggest gob in sport. We say the things on here that nobody dare say. Today I'm joined by David. How are you doing, David?
All good, Russ. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. I'm all right. Do apologise for being late. I've only just got back in. It's freezing out. Where are you from then, David? Because it's your debut today, isn't it?
Yeah, debut today. I'm just outside Portsmouth on the south coast, so not far.
Are you a Portsmouth fan?
I'm a Burnley fan.
Oh, what?
A Burnley fan.
Burnley?
Yeah, my family are all from Burnley, but my dad moved down south when I was a lot younger. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I grew up in Pompey. All my mates are Pompey fans, and yeah, we did them over on Saturday, which was good. So I've got the bragging rights down here.
Why didn't you play West Brom?
No, we played Pompey on Saturday at
Oh,
Turf Moor.
Oh, it was West Brom last week, wasn't it? Oh no,
Yeah,
you're playing Pompey, didn't you? Yeah, last week West Brom were down there, weren't they?
yeah. You've have you moved? Have you moved to Lichfield? Have you near
No,
Lichfield?
I live near Lichfield, Sutton Coldfield.
I did. Yeah, I did my basic training just down the road from there at Lichfield when I joined the army. So I know that area quite well.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's a joke prices around here, isn't it?
You should try coming down here. It's even worse. You won't get a pint down here now for less than about £6.50.
Try Four Oaks, mate. It's an absolute joke.
I've worn my special button moon jumper for you as well.
Where'd you get that from?
Um, It was off the back of you guys. I've been listening to the channel for the last 2 or 3 years, and I looked it up online. Me and my mates have all got one. Just says,
Roch has nicked me saying, hasn't he?
yeah, I heard that on his channel the other day as well. He's pretty keen on nicking a lot of your sayings.
Well, I'm forever terrorising him, aren't I, on WhatsApp? I think it's ingrained in him now after about 17 years.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. How long have you been a boxing fan, David?
So, I mean, for as long as I can remember, but I've dipped in and out of it, to be honest. For the last year or so, not as much as I was. I went totally off it, and I think it's probably the same as some of those guys that obviously people like you mentioned before, like Rico and Julian and people like that.
Yeah.
I just think it became really stagnant. Boxing just became, it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't very exciting. Yeah, and there were no exciting fights being had. So I just lost total interest. I'd be the sort of person who'd be looking forward to a Saturday night and watching the whole of the undercard all the way through. And now it's got to the stage where I even think Saturday night's card wasn't that great in terms of it just wasn't that. I don't think it was that great, to be honest.
What did you think to the judging in the because since it's your debut today, we'll just cover a few bits and do half an hour and just ease you into
Yeah.
it. And then if you're willing to, if you like, because you seem like you know what you're on with, can you just tilt your thing so we can see you?
Yeah.
But then if you want to come on, once a week and that, you're more than welcome. We'll do a two-parter and that, and we'll build you up. It's not for everybody, this, so if you see some comments, I'll try and protect the guys who come on here best I can. And Cameron, the tech guy, because some of the comments can be quite cutting and awful. I'm a bit more thick-skinned to it.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm quite confrontational. If anybody's got a serious problem, they can get stuck into me, and I'll get stuck into them. I'm of that ilk. I'm not saying the hardest man it will, but I'm not going to have anybody take liberties. But so you might like it today, and then you might read comments, and you might think, "Oh, it ain't for you." So don't take things to heart because it's not real life. A lot of these people that leave comments on here, they're on accounts with no subscribers, usually fresh accounts because they've been blocked by Cameron. And because I don't really know how to block them on here, I'm not very tech minded. Just don't take it to heart. If you want to come on regular, well, I'll do my best to make sure that nobody comes on here and say they're going to do you in, and because there's all sorts of threats you get on here. Because I am a bit outspoken, but I'm not really bothered what people think.
Yeah.
I've always had that same mindset. But I think that if people are going to behave like dicks in the boxing industry, I think they need pulling up on it.
I know back in the day on the channel, you used to get Was it Porky's missing teeth?
Porky's missing teeth, you see. Where's he now since I got my teeth done?
There was Johnny Horsecock Nelson and Jim McDonald as well.
Yeah, well, they've all got plenty to say from the Jim McDonald's of this world, but they're not coming out and showing their face, are they? Everybody can have an opinion, but a majority of them are behind a camera on a fake name. I mean, can you imagine getting up in the morning, right, and you've not set this account up? You know, today I'm going to set an account up and I'm going to call myself Jim McDonald from Coronation Street, a fictional character, because I don't want to show my own face. I mean, I can't take them people serious. They might be funny, but I don't take them people serious. And so the guys who come on here, everybody shows the face. Terry does. He's been on here. I've done work with Terry for Dennis and Rico, Julian. They're close friends of mine. I hardly speak to them. I speak to Rico every now and then. I don't speak to Julian no more. Julian walked away from it, but he's done that before because it can rile you because Julian's trained at world level fighters, hasn't he? Boxing can play with your emotions. It send you crazy, can't it? Well, like I said, don't take anything to heart that's said on it because 99% of them have got no knackers. They would never say it to your face. So I get a lot of stick in that, but I'm willing to back it up. So people come up to me at shows and they want selfies and stuff like that. The same people that are saying they're going to give me a clip. You know what I mean? So, look, it is what it is. But like I said, if you want to come on regular, I ain't got a problem with it. I ain't got a problem with anybody coming on here.
Yeah.
Or people want to come on and then on the day, they change their mind because they realise it isn't for them. So, like I said, don't take it to heart.
No, it's fine. If you're willing to show your face, it comes with the territory, doesn't it? If you're gonna put yourself out there and have an opinion, then you know people can't overrule that by hiding behind a fake name. It doesn't work like that. You know, if they're brave enough to say that, then come online.
Yeah, well, only a couple of months ago, I got some funding to do something up at Joe Gallagher's gym for a couple of weeks. I went up there and I was in there upstairs on my own. And Lawrence Okoli walked in. Obviously, I've dug him out on this channel, hasn't he? Because his style, well, like shocking, wasn't it? So I sat there in the corner at gym, and I thought Lawrence Okoli's just walked in here. He was smack opposite me. They're only me and him upstairs in weight room, and I thought we're gonna be all right here. He's a big old 6'6" lump, isn't
he? Yeah.
And well, you've seen the picture. I managed, but there's a picture of me and Lawrence, and I thought, well, what can you do here? So I bounced straight over to him. I gave him a little jab in the stomach, and I said, I didn't used to like you when you were with Eddie Hills, but I like you now you're with Joe Jim. And it sort of like broke the ice, but I'm like, oh, God, look who's just walked in here. This is all, I could do without this today. But that could have been another boxer with a different type of mindset, and he might just set about me, and then I'm going to be in a lot of problems then, aren't I? 11 stone 4, 11 stone 5, 5'8". Going to get flogged, but I never said anything really that bad. I just said I thought his style's shite and that he puts me to sleep, and I wouldn't open curtains to watch him if he were in my garden. That's all I said. Only like what everybody else says, Frank Warren and other people, but when you're actually in the same room as him, I thought, my ass was squeaking a bit, but I've seen it through.
Well, if you'd have been in the same room as Michael from Eritrea, it might have been a different story.
Listen, I'm good to that kid, me, honestly. That's why
I know. Yeah. Well, I do you know what? I've watched the channel for so long. I know all of those stories, and it's. I think it just a lot of stuff gets misconstrued anyway. People just try and twist stuff in it. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
People don't remember. Michael should remember that when he came over to Airy, he never had a job or anything. He never had no dough on him. He was sleeping at the bus station, and I said, "Come on, go in here for something to eat." Oh, I can't go in there. I'm a vegan. So they didn't have no top menu. I ended up driving around Doncaster looking for somewhere to take him for something to eat. I ended up taking him to a fast food place in Bowlby to get him what he wanted. I chased him back. I'll bang on with him, and that's what happens. They try and cut your legs up and try and say things that are not true. And he said something about my ex-partner, and I just thought, I ain't having that. So I went and put it on. I wasn't going to go hitting because he's not going to get no medals hitting him. I went through with Max and shit him up. But look, that's social media for, isn't it? Yeah. But let's get on to boxing. What do you think to show at weekend, really? The Joshua fight. What do you think, David?
Straight in on the Joshua fight. I was bouncing around saying that Dubois was going to win. that's me being honest as well. And 90% of people I came up against, I don't know whether it was they were blinkered by the fact that it was Joshua, or they hadn't seen enough of Dubois. I don't really know why. A lot of people were going around saying, they're both quitters anyway. But I thought Dubois would always have too much for Joshua. And I've said, and it was interesting to hear. I don't know whether you heard Joe Gallagher on Talk Sport last week when he said that it's Joshua's first live opponent, I think, since Ruiz, where he's just been fighting absolute garbage. When you look at Wallin, Helenius, and Ngannou, how can you come or make any comparison between Dubois and those three fighters? And that's the way I saw it. In terms of his walkout, I think he just looked lost. He looked like a lost boy. Almost, and I hate to set a rabbit in the headlights. So, I mean, that's my point of view on Joshua and Dubois in terms of how I looked at it from the beginning.
He's not been at races since Usyk beat him, really, has he? Because if you're losing that fight to Usyk, he took 6 rounds off Usyk since he fought him in the first fight. So he's won them 6 rounds, and then Franklin, Helenius, Wallin, and Ngannou in his second fight. They're like sparring sessions. So technically, he hasn't really fought since Usyk, has he, really? So he's not had a good preparation to be getting in the ring with Daniel, who's before Usyk, then he's Miller and Ergovic, or an Olympic bronze medalist, Ergovic. No mug, and Ergovic were favourite. And he's on a good run of form, and I didn't think Joshua's run of form were that good, to be honest. So I went for Dubois, but a lot of people in the industry went for Joshua because they don't want to rock the boat. I mean, Joshua's that big a name now. He's coming out second as a challenger, and he's got a rematch clause. What? How can that be, David?
I know.
I can't get my head around that,
I think if you look back to that face-off where Joshua was rattled, and you had Eddie Hearn sat there with Frank Warren and Dubois. I know this might I don't know, this might ruffle a few votes. Dubois is like that kid in the corner of the playground who has that super Mong strength. Nobody wants to go near him because if he gets you in a headlock, that's it. It's game over. Yeah. Nothing seems to, and he seems a nice enough bloke, but there's not much there, and that's scary in a sense because with that face-off, he just stood there completely. It didn't matter what Joshua said. Joshua was rattled from that face-off. You could tell, and nobody would believe me. And I kept saying to everyone, I said, "Look, it's all hot air with Joshua. It's almost like he's got a little bit of boxing PTSD just from that Ruiz fight, and then on to Usyk as well. You start taking big shots like he was taking against Dubois on Saturday night, and you could just see his legs went. And once his legs went, they never came back, and that was it. And the clips you then saw of the corner, whereby because he's such a big name, such a big personality, I don't even think Ben Davidson can deal with that in the corner. Joshua went and sat down and said, there was that clip of him saying, "Oh, he's shit" or whatever, and Davidson had no comeback, and it was just like, well, you just have to go out there and throw everything at it, and then that's game over for Joshua, then, isn't it?
He's too cautious as a trainer for me, Ben Davison. I mean, he looked to me like he sent Joshua out to say, just have a look at him and ease your way in and all that. Where the other kid came out throwing leather, didn't he? Jumped on him straight away. So I don't know. People are texting me today saying, "Oh, do you think Dubois were on gear and all that, and will there be a bad drug test or performance enhancing drug?"
This is exactly where I was going to say. This is exactly where I was going to go next. I looked at Joshua, and I think again to take one of Terry's quotes, because I love Terry on the channel. That special blend of nuts, juices, and berries. Joshua.
I don't think it's that we involved, David. I don't think it's that we. Daniel Dubois, I think he's just been eating loads of cornbread.
Yeah, in the corner of the playground, getting people in headlocks. But no, I think he looked like a monster, Daniel Dubois. I don't think I'd want to go into a ring if you were Joshua and you were suffering from a little bit of mental boxing PTSD. The last person you want to go in as a live opponent with is Daniel Dubois, who's hungry. What would he be? 10 years, almost 10 years younger.
8 is it 8 years or something?
And I know it's controversial, but and I know people say, "Oh, Usyk's never been knocked down," but that punch which Dubois landed on Usyk in that fight, I don't know what your opinion was. I don't necessarily think it was below the belt, and it took Usyk the full 5 minutes to come back from that, and you can just tell that power from Dubois.
Yeah.
And I think he was a little bit hard done by there, to be honest, Dubois in that Usyk fight. But
The Joyce one, you look at the Joyce one, he was winning fight one until he got injured. So they say,
Yeah.
but I didn't think there were much in it. But Joyce and Usyk have one thing in common: they're both undefeated, weren't they? Both undefeated fighters. Now, you dare say Dubois would have took Fury on when he was undefeated, and Luis Ortiz and Wilder and people like that. Now, Anthony Joshua's only really took on Usyk, who were undefeated. Parker, I don't really count that as a top win. Parker were gifted that WBO belt. But I think Anthony Joshua, as I pointed out for many years, and I don't want to make out I'm a Joshua hater, but he's been wrapped in cotton wool, hasn't he, really? It's always been about getting him over the line. But if you go back many, many years, Matchroom, for years they don't invest in fighters. They don't win purse bids. They don't invest in them. Go and look at Chris Eubanks Senior. He was undefeated for years and years and years. He'd won 19 world title fights, WBO, right? He had a couple of draws as well, but in all them defences. But yeah, he only got 4 wins over champions. So who were the other 15 and whatnot? But when you look at his career, the 5 defeats that Senior's got on his record, they've all come on Bricktop shows, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what's happened there. Bricktop has let Eddie Hills run with Joshua for years. And then once Eddie wanted to cash him in, Bricktop were willing just to rub the noses in it. And that's it'll always be like that, you know. It will always be like that. Eddie's family, they try and get as much money in as they can. They go on about legacy, but legacy means nothing to them, in my opinion. Joshua can preach about all roads lead to undisputed. Well, he's never had an undisputed fight. It's just to keep us on the hook. There's always a rematch. There's always a rematch, and there's always a rematch whenever he loses, because he's commercially viable, isn't he?
Yeah.
He brings a lot to the table, but Joshua's got beat at the weekend on a Bricktop show, just like Eubank, and I think he's been finished for a long time, mate. Since Vladimir exposed, wasn't he?
Yeah. If say for example, if Joshua had come into this fight with Dubois, you look at Helenius, Wallin, and Garner. If he'd come into this fight, even one of those 3, being maybe a Bacoli or like you say, the bogeyman, the Caballero, someone like that. I mean, that would have tipped the scales a little bit. And I think if he'd have beaten, say, one of those fighters, Caballero, Bacoli, whoever it might be, Zhang, one of those top table heavyweights, things might have been a bit different. But coming into a fighting Dubois, I don't understand why not more people believed, well, possibly our point of view in terms of Dubois winning in that match from the start.
Did you have Dubois to win, David?
100%. And I was right, and I can back that up, on any means. And I was running around saying that all last week, and people were laughing. They were laughing in my face directly and saying, "You're deluded." And they've all been caught up with this Joshua manufactured train, I suppose. And it's clever,
like the Gad saying, "Oh, Joshua's on, he's on it," and things like that. And now he's saying a rematch would be a catastrophe. The slip and slide, because what it is, a lot in the industry, in the boxing industry, you can say one sentence and upset somebody, and boom, your history. Anthony Yard's team, they've knocked a couple of fights back. But Bivol fight for £1 million, and what's the other one? Boatsi for £1 million. They're in the wilderness now. That's it. They're in the wilderness now. Then he come out and said, "I'm a free agent, and there's some issue. Where is he in?" And before you know where you are, you're out in the cold. And that's happened to Seconds Out. They put something out, and now they're backtracking and this and that and trying to get back in mix for their press pass. Boxing's a sport that's like the Wild Wild West. It's not governed by anybody. The board are supposed to govern it, but if a fighter doesn't get paid and he goes complaining, right, people will tell him to go to the board and complain, but then you're known as a grass. So if the fighters are not willing to go to the board because they're not being paid, who is really governing it. Because if you do go to board and you complain about not being paid, you get throws out either way. So promoters and managers run the sport. No,
I think even more so now with that Saudi influence and the money that's available to be spent. You look back again 18 months ago, and you look at people like Simon Jordan, who you thought maybe something slightly different, maybe
we're going to
had a
make a difference. We're going to make
yeah,
a difference, aren't they?
and initially for the first month, 2 months, it was refreshing to hear him speak. And then as soon as there was, I think it was
The
it
Conor
was it
Ben
the Fury fight?
situation.
Yeah, Conor Ben, and then when TalkSport got banned from the Fury fight, or whatever it might have been, they're complete. There was a complete polar shift in their opinions, and now there's this huge money coming. It's just made it all a little bit ridiculous. Simon Jordan's just a puppet now for whoever's the top bidder to take TalkSport on their commentary. So yeah, it's a shame really, and there's no friends in boxing, and it's a shame that there's only channels like yourselves who have a proper voice, and the rest all just get trampled on really. And it's embarrassing for the people like, and dare I say, I mean, yeah, it's embarrassing for the people like Coogan and those channels who have to lick and go and do that just to get into a show. It's embarrassing. I don't really understand why. There needs to be a better control from top to bottom, like you've been saying for years and years and years. But that's never going to happen, because there's too much money involved now.
Yeah, I've pulled every time I see Coogan, I pull him about it. And to be fair, he's between a rock and an hard place. He's got a baby daughter and that, and he's got bills to pay like everybody else. He doesn't strike me as that type of kid that would probably be able to get something else going in his life if he weren't doing this. I don't know what he was doing before this one. To an extra, trying to be an actor or something. Look, good luck to him, whatever he does. And I think he's in a tough place really, because he's got a platform. And what's the average? 29,000 views a video. That's all right. The average about 3,000. So he's a big channel. Frotch is averaging 113,000 a video. So, but he's got the name, hasn't he? So he don't really need all that. So Carl can say what he wants. I can say what I want anyway, because me living how I live, Porky's Corner don't pay out for me. I have to, otherwise I'd be walking around bare arse if I had to survive on Porky's Corner. But Coogan has to survive on IFL, doesn't he? That's his problem. So they've got to sit behind the camera reading questions out that are given to him by these promoters' staff. This is what you're asking today. That's a sad indictment of the sport. Whereas if I were there with my camera, but I won't be able to do it anyway because I've got too much going on. I'd be doing it off cuff, and I'd just try and keep it what's going on in my head. I won't be reading off an auto cue to that lot. But I don't really respect them anyway. Going, I work for Dennis.
So Porky's Corner didn't pay for it. You've not got the AMG Merc anymore, have you?
AMG Merc. AMG Merc. No, I've got a couple of cars at mine. I've got a Volvo and I've got another car, but I'm not saying what that is because people.
Max's Volvo.
I haven't got Max's Volvo. I've got a Volvo. It's 90 to Gal-free tax. So, I've had more cars damaged because of this channel, so I'm not going to say what other car I've got. But I've got a nice one at the moment, another nice one. But what I want to make is now Porky's Corner don't pay my bills. It probably pays me maintenance. Really. But it's fun. It started out as an hobby, but I wasn't able to make it pay like I wanted it to pay. So it's just an hobby to me now. But because obviously too many have tried to cut my legs off, haven't they, with channel behind the scenes, and that's what you're up against, isn't it, if you speak out. But I won't let it dominate my life like it used to do. This channel, I've still got a studio up at South Yorkshire up there. So
you know for a fact that when even when you dig into some of these seconds out, whatever it might be, IFL, you can tell that people watch your videos.
Of course they do. Yeah, of course they do. I know Simon Jordan watches them because of her back. Spencer Oliver watches them. I do know they watch them. So and Eddie watches them every now and then. But people will send him little snippets from it. So that's quite satisfying that they know that I'm going to say what I say now. I know that Simon Jordan takes stuff from my channel and tries to put his fancy words on it because of it. So that's a good thing. So I do take. I feel good about that. So it don't bother me that they nick my content, but I know that they're not going to word it like I do, because I'm a bit of an egger, aren't I? Whereas he's an educated man, isn't he? You know? But the vibe of my channel mainly is like the guy in the pub who's talking to his mates kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's how it started. And for first 3.5 years, never got been off YouTube for about 3.5 years. So I started it in November 17, and I never got the first payment I got off him were 555 quid, 26 pence, and that was Feb 21. That was the first time I got any money
Yeah.
out of YouTube. Yeah, Feb 21. Obviously, I had sponsorship nearly all the way through, but I never had anything off YouTube. None at all. So it's been like
You're not going to go back. Are you not going to go back to those videos of you like
in the
lifting
shed.
weights in the shed?
In the shed. No, the shed's at my ex-partner's house at the moment, but no, I don't think I will. No, it's full of junk and Thomas the Tank Engine toys, my little boy's toys, and bags of shit and all sorts, and old dumbbells. So
They
no,
were decent. They were good. They were good videos.
yeah, they're all right, then, weren't they? The
Yeah.
good old days.
Yeah.
Well, that when I lived in that house there, I had that big shed thing, and Dave Allen's flat were at back at bottom at Garden, so we used to have a bit of a crack. It used to be all right when I lived in Cunnisborough, but no, we're still.
Dave's desperate to get back in the mix, isn't he?
Do you know what? He's been a fool to his sin, hasn't he, David Allen?
Yeah.
If he'd have knuckled down, he might have been somewhere now. But I don't think his dedication's ever been there. That's the only problem, you see, because he's got ability, and people might think he's an egger in the ring. Listen, he has got ability, but he's never fulfilled his potential. And you know, when he gets to 50, he'll sit like that
Yeah. Yeah.
with his fucking head in his hands, and he'll regret it. He might not now, but he might do in about 15 years. He might think, oh, God, I really threw it away. And obviously, it looks like he's not been treated that good by industry, and he's sort of like been discarded by Matchroom, hasn't he, really? You know?
Well, that was always going to be the case, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
once you've used up your usefulness, that's it. You're going to be put on the scrap heap by Eddie Hearn, aren't you? Like,
Well, I did hear that, you know, when he knocked that fight back, he was at 0-2, he knocked a fight back, didn't he, when Jamie Moore were training him?
was that the Dubois fight when he got offered
No,
that?
no, this was another fight. It wasn't the Dubar fight because he knocked that back with Bricktop. This was an Eddie Hills show at the O2, and I heard once he knocked that back, he'd more or less burnt all his bridges with them. He came back, then he came on, didn't fight for whatever money it were. It didn't work out. And listen, these people, they'll set the store like if you mess them about, they'll harm you. These boxing promoters. Look at Josh Warrington. Look how many times he's been messed about by promoters.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you mess them about, they'll want to get you back down the line. Anthony,
well, when he got thrown in the ring with Lara, and he literally got punched on his head.
yeah. Well, look at Anthony Yard, right? He knocked Bibble back, and Boatsi and Tunde's put him in a bad position, and by shooting his mouth off and this and that. They're going back and forth with Bricktop. I can assure you, Yard won't get back in mix now unless he gets rid of Tunde. So and Yard, if he wanted to get him back working with Bricktop now, what would he have to do? He'd have to probably go to a buffer like one of Bricktop's sons and go through one of them to get back on. And then he'd be put on at 6 o'clock at night on a low end show just to get back in. It'd be like being punished by your headmaster. This is what this sport's like. And it's so wrong.
Is it? I mean, the only reason Boatsi's getting a chance is because they need to make back the money that they've spent on him. Is that the only reason, isn't it?
Yeah, and do you know what? Joshua Boatsi, in my opinion, he was shite the other night, wasn't he?
Terrible. It was awful.
And if that other kid had been a bit fitter, David, it might have been a different story. But he was blowing out in his ass after 4 rounds, Willie Hutchinson, and he looked a bit fleshy to me. So, as far as I'm concerned, he had his chance and blew it. But he had skills to burn on the night. He just didn't have the tank to execute Willie Hutchinson. He had him on hook, didn't he? A couple of times, Boatsi, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen to him now, but I'd like to see him go back to flex and get his son fit.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to see. But I want to talk about Bean. He keeps going on about every now and then we get trainers that come along in boxing. You might not remember this, but do you remember Lee Beard who were bouncing about the scene about 15, 16 years ago? He was hanging around the Hatton camp and all that. Do you remember him?
I recognise the name, but I don't. Yeah, not specifically.
He was doing a bit with Mayweather's one over there and blah de blah. Well, I remember Adam Smith going, emerging trainer Lee Beard. And then not long after that, it was emerging trainer, promoter, manager Bombay Dave. You know, Bombay Dave.
Bombay Dave, yeah.
Caldwell. And then in recent times, we've had emerging trainer, Ben Davidson. Well, everybody's emerging, aren't they, according to Bean? Well, what happened to Ben Davidson the other night? What have
Ben
these
Davis,
fighters done with anybody from debut? That's what I want
boxer,
to know.
boxer size
Answers
Ben.
on a postcard, porkycorner@bin.com.
Boxer size Ben.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's happened to boxer size Ben, but, you know, he looks like he's been put in a box. I don't know. Do they recover from it all like this? Because he's history now, but what about the game plans? What about his sidekick, Barry?
Is it? It's not confirmed, obviously. It's not confirmed.
Well, this is what they say. Obviously, it's Joshua's not come out, has he? But
yeah.
this is the whisper around the houses that he's.
So where does Joshua go?
I'd have thought if Don Charles gets sacked, he'll go to Don Charles and they'll sell it as Don Charles has been sacked by Dubois and he knows how to beat him. Or I'd say Tony Sims. He goes to Tony Sims. He won't be able to go to McCracken. There's too many bridges being burnt there. I think he'd go to Sims. So.
Yeah. Well, the Sims gym's a little bit tarnished as well.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, clear. Yeah, just got to be careful what you say there because, like you said, with silent bans, potentially all those fighters that were knocking people out 18 months ago, 2-3 years ago, have now they're like you say, feather duster men.
Well, all of a sudden they are, aren't they? I mean, not one person at that show, you know, and this bothers me. Let me just point out that Big Mal was sat in the gods. Big Mal was sat in the gods and never gave him a floor seat at the weekend, and he's not happy. But what were we getting back to? What were we on about before then? Sims Jim. The fighters. Crusher Ben were there at the show. Dylan White were there, and they were doing interviews and that. Not one person, not one of you YouTubers asked them, "Are you serving a silent ban? Can you tell us?" Not one person asked the question. Could you imagine back in the day, Pat Sheen and Jeff Powell or any of them old schoolers, you know, back in the day, they would have asked, wouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not boxing journalism no more, is it? It's in-house media, in-house PR, isn't it?
Yeah. People like Steve Bunce they're all company men now, aren't they? Because they've all got.
Bunce never used to be like that. You know, he went against Mickey Duff years and years ago, and he got a 2-year ban from all press conferences. Steve Bunce, old school, but Steve, he lives near here, Steve in Tamworth, but Steve probably has bills to pay like everybody else and don't want to upset the bottom. Probably just thinking, do you know what? It's not worth aggravation. Do you know what I mean? Because the boxing people are so vindictive. Honestly, it's hard to explain. It's very, very hard to explain. But hey ho.
I think it's just a very strange sport. There's no friends within the sport itself. If you compare it to football, for example, where people can slate or say whatever they like about certain teams or certain players, in terms of boxing, they're so precious for a combat sport and people putting their lives on the line. Everyone within the sport is so precious about any opinion on anything. You know, footballers can be completely battered down to in terms of their character, how they've played at the weekend. You can say anything about them on any channel whatsoever, and there's no comeback. Within boxing, people are so scared about getting a lack of access, or it doesn't make any sense really. So
it's because the sport is surrounded by people that want to be somebody, so they want to get it mixed and make a name for themselves. Whereas footballers, listen, if I were on £300,000 a week and you were saying I couldn't trap a bag of cement, I wouldn't care. I've got a 5-year deal. If I break my leg, I'm going to get paid up millions and millions. So you wouldn't be bothered. In boxing, it's a little bit different. You're on back foot as it is. There's not very many people make money in sport, and they haven't really got much else going on in their lives. And if they're not boxing, they'd be selling crack. You see where I'm coming from, or burgling houses. So it's catch-22. It's a different sport to football. There's more money in football, isn't there? But I see where you're coming from with that. But I just want to see these people with access just ask proper questions. I want all these drug cheats. I want them all out. I want the names all out there so we all know who's who and that. But we're not going to get that, are we?
Yeah, but again, the sport. Are there any boxers which aren't taking special nuts, juices, and berries?
Yeah, it's a
Either,
great to go in on it.
either everyone does it or no one does it. There's no in between, is there?
Nah, there ain't. There ain't. But listen, let's have a look. Yeah, we're more or less done now. But listen, thanks for coming on, David. Would you like to
Yeah, no
come
worries.
again next week?
Yeah, mate, I'm happy. It doesn't,
Got me
in
number,
terms
haven't
of
you?
comment. Yeah, I'm happy with doing that.
All right, I'll tell you what. Then I've got my number. We'll have you on in about 4 or 5 days or something. We'll do a 2-party, and I'll put something together properly. Yeah.
Nice one. Cheers, Porky.
Listen, basically, you've been fantastic. It's very, I know it's hard for people to come on here the first time and they think I'm going to savage them and all that, but I'm not really like that. It depends usually what mood I'm in. If I turn this camera on, and it's usually if I'm being out and that, all hell breaks loose, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
I'm usually all right in the morning when I've been out for a run. But all right, well, listen, it's been great to have you on. You've got my number. Keep in touch,
Yeah.
and all the best to you and your family, Dave.
Nice one. Cheers,
Thank you
Russ.
very much. Cheers, mate. Bye
Cheers, mate.
bye. Well, that were David from Portsmouth. Women love him, men want to be him. No, I think that's your line in it, Jerry. So that's about it. Hopefully, we've got Peter De Freitas coming on this week, Thursday. He's going to think about it. He hasn't been on for a bit, so I like Peter. He's a good fella. I was telling Mark Tibbs, he's a great bloke. Peter, good boxing man. He mixed it with Barry Hearn, Frank Warren, Don King, you name it. He was in the mix back in the day. Nigel Benn's manager. So he's done well. And he can have a bit of a tear up, Peter, as well. So I hope he's well. Look forward to having him on. I've got Sean Brennan coming on tonight on his debut. And there's a few more coming on for the debut. The books are open. We're going to let probably 2 or 3 more come on this month, and then we're going to build it from there. All right, so we've got room for a couple more if anybody's interested. Get in touch, porkycorner@mail.com. It's not capital letters, it's the low one. I don't know if that matters, but porkycorner@mail.com. Not porkers, because I forgot the S. It's porkycorner@mail.com. All right. Rico, I hope you're well. Give me a ring. Max, sorry about last night. Not having you on, mate. We'll have you on this week sometime, yeah. Only if you're 18 stone. I'm only joking, Max. Go on, peace out.